Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Scott, and I am an art historian. I teach here at Wagner, and I specialize in ancient art history. So I'm happy to be here to answer some questions about ancient civilizations.
How would you define civilization as an art historian?
Okay, so in my field, art historians look at images and we try to use them to help us learn more about the society that created them. And so, as an art historian, to me, civilizations would be large scale communities living together with a certain amount of advanced technology and intellectual history behind them.
Thank you. What aspects and characteristics form a civilization?
So, a civilization, in my mind, would need to have some form of government that would seek to promote the success of the people that live in a particular place. So, what makes one civilization unique from another would be cultural traits such as the arts or religious beliefs, or even things like geography. Architecture is a really big one for me as an art historian. So.
Thank you.
Dr. Scott, what is one of the most significant processes in a thriving civilization?
I would say that it would, one of the processes would be the creation of technologies that help the people to organize their ideas and their economy and their interactions with each other. And so an example of that, from, again, my own subjective opinion, is the invention of writing in Mesopotamia, which happened around 3500 BC. And so the invention of writing in that civilization happened because it enabled people to organize commodity exchange. So it was easier for them to store goods and keep track of what they had so they could distribute it back out to the people again.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What are the advantages and disadvantages that geography, environment, and natural resources have on a civilization?
Okay, so again, drawing on some of my own work, the idea of geography is fascinating because it can drive civilizations together or bring them apart. And so one of the examples that comes to my mind are two very different comparative examples. So ancient Egypt and ancient Mesopotamia are both civilizations that we call riverine civilizations. So they relied on the Nile River in the case of Egypt and on the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in the case of Mesopotamia for their livelihood.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. What advancements or inventions are necessary for a civilization to survive?
So I mentioned writing as one, but based on my previous point, I would say that irrigation and then any other technologies that encourage production are really important for civilizations to thrive. And particularly when civilizations become successful, one of the outcomes is an increase in population. So that new technologies need to be developed all the time in order to accommodate for provisions necessary for larger groups of people.
How do past civilizations relate to the present global society?
I would say that environmentally speaking, this would be something that we can really think about today, is how can we work together to come up with new technologies that help us to cope with our growing population.
Definitely.
That's really a problem.
Yeah.
So I would say resources, so water is one of them, fuel, fossil fuels, how can we preserve the fossil fuels we have? An example of an emerging technology that I would encourage us all to use in that case would be the use of wind power. And I know that there's a lot of debate in many communities today about whether putting wind farms in is good. And even though it might not be aesthetically pleasing, it definitely, I think, would help in terms of our energy crisis. So.
Thank you. What is one of the most important lessons to learn from past civilizations that are relevant to the present?
I would say that if taking a lesson from the Assyrian Empire, who ruled in the ancient Near East from about 1000 BC to 600 BC, they tightened their grip so tightly around people that they conquered that they ultimately rebelled and they lost their power structure. So I would say ruling with empathy and gentle qualities is more important than ruling with an iron fist.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to talk to you.